Hello and welcome to another episode of the BigDaddyBigz blog book reviews. This is episode 4, and this review is the James Clear book, Atomic Habits. So before we get started, I'd like to humbly ask that you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and tap that bell so you won't miss another episode. Now that that's done, let's get started. Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones by James Clear, is a practical guide on the science of habit formation and change. The book proposes that making tiny, consistent changes, atomic habits, is the key to achieving remarkable transformations over time. Rather than focusing on grand goals, Clear emphasizes that we should concentrate on small, sustainable actions that compound over time, ultimately creating significant outcomes. The core principles of the book. Identity-based habits. Clear argues that lasting change stems not from what we want to achieve, but from what we want to become. By focusing on identity, seeing ourselves as a quote-unquote reader, runner, or productive person, for example, we make it easier to align our behaviors with this identity. Shifting our self-image influences our actions, making habits stickier and less effortful. The habit loop. Every habit follows a cycle: cue, craving, response, and reward. Recognizing this loop allows us to deconstruct habits into manageable pieces. Clear's framework for building new habits and breaking bad ones is rooted in these 4 stages. The 4 laws of behavior change. Clear introduces 4 principles to create positive habits or break negative ones. Make it obvious, clarify what you want to do, and use cues that trigger the behavior. Make it attractive. Increase the appeal of a habit by associating it with something pleasurable and rewarding. Make it easy. Reduce friction, starting with simple actions to make the habit feel easy to start. And make it satisfying. Reward yourself to reinforce the habit, as positive reinforcement encourages repetition. Environment design. Clear highlights that environment often plays a bigger role than motivation or willpower in shaping behavior. By designing our spaces to encourage positive habits, like placing running shoes by the door or keeping junk food out of sight, we can set ourselves up for success without relying solely on self-discipline. System over goals. While goals are useful, Clear argues that systems, the consistent actions that make up daily life, are more important for long-term progress. Focusing on small improvements rather than results keeps people motivated and builds a sense of accomplishment without the pressure of achieving grand milestones. The Goldilocks rule and staying motivated. To stay engaged, Clear advises that habits should be neither too hard nor too easy, but should hit a balance that challenges us enough to remain interesting. This Goldilocks zone keeps motivation high and prevents boredom or burnout. Tracking and accountability. Clear promotes tools like habit tracking and accountability partners to keep us on course. Habit tracking creates a visual reminder of progress, while involving others in our goals increases commitment and consistency. Now I'd like to give a breakdown of each chapter from the introduction on to the end of the book, and these will just be short breakdowns of each chapter. The introduction, my story. James Clear opens with a personal story of overcoming a severe injury and building himself back up through small, consistent habits. This experience taught him to value the incremental improvement and laid the foundation for the book's approach to habits. Chapter 1: The Surprising Power of Atomic Habits. Clear explains the quote-unquote power of tiny gains and how improving just 1% each day leads to a huge compounding effect over time. He introduces the concept of atomic habits, small, seemingly insignificant actions that contribute to significant long-term change. Chapter 2: How your habits shape your identity and vice versa. This chapter introduces the idea of quote-unquote identity-based habits. Clear emphasizes that lasting change starts by reshaping your self-image. He encourages shifting from outcome-based goals like lose weight to identity-based goals like become someone who values health. Chapter 3: How to build better habits in 4 simple steps. Clear explains the habit loop: cue, craving, response, reward, which is essential to habit formation. This loop forms the basis for the 4 laws of behavior change that are covered in the next chapters. Chapter 4: The Man Who Didn't Look Right. This chapter dives into the first law of behavior change: make it obvious. Clear suggests ways to create cues for good habits, like using habit stacking, pairing a new habit with an existing one, and designing environments that trigger positive behaviors. Chapter 5: The Best Way to Start a New Habit. Clear explains implementation, intentions, and the concept of habit stacking, which involves linking a desired behavior to an already established habit to make it easier to remember and perform. Chapter 6: Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more. Clear demonstrates that environment plays a more significant role than motivation. He provides strategies to design your environment in a way that encourages good habits and discourages bad ones. Chapter 7: The Secret to Self-Control. The focus is on removing cues that trigger bad habits. Clear argues that self-control is less about willpower and more about avoiding temptation by designing a supportive environment. Chapter 8: How to Make a Habit Irresistible. This chapter discusses the second law of behavior change: make it attractive. Clear introduces the concept of temptation bundling, pairing something you want to do with something you need to do. He also explores how dopamine drives our cravings for rewards. Chapter 9: The Role of Family and Friends in Shaping Your Habits. Clear highlights how social influence impacts habits. We often mimic the habits of those around us, so it's helpful to join communities where the habits we want are the norm. Chapter 10: How to Find and Fix the Cause of Your Bad Habits. Clear covers the importance of reinterpreting bad habits to understand the cues and cravings behind them. By changing how we feel about the cues, we can work on stopping the bad habits. Chapter 11: Walk slowly but never backward. The third law of behavior change is to make it easy. Clear emphasizes that habits should be easy to start and perform. He encourages focusing on showing up with tiny actions to build consistency rather than overwhelming ourselves with large tasks. Chapter 12: The Law of Least Effort. This chapter discusses ways to reduce friction for good habits and increase friction for bad habits. Clear suggests that by making positive actions easier and negative actions harder, we make good habits more sustainable. Chapter 13: How to Stop Procrastinating by Using the 2-Minute Rule. Clear introduces the quote-unquote 2-minute rule, which encourages starting new habits with actions that take 2 minutes or less. This tactic makes habits more manageable and creates a routine that can gradually grow in complexity. Chapter 14. How to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. Clear offers strategies to lock in good habits by creating commitment devices. By adding external constraints, we can reduce reliance on willpower. Chapter 15. The cardinal rule of behavior change. The fourth law of behavior change is make it satisfying. Clear explains how providing immediate rewards and celebrating small wins reinforce good habits and make them more enjoyable. Chapter 16. How to stick with good habits every day. Clear introduces habit tracking as a method to keep motivated. Tracking gives a visual cue of progress, which increases satisfaction and keeps us accountable. Chapter 17. How an accountability partner can change everything. This chapter expands on the importance of accountability. Clear suggests enlisting friends or mentors to help keep habits on track. When others are involved, we feel more committed to following through. Chapter 18. The truth about talent, when genes matter and when they don't. Clear addresses the role of genetics in habit formation. While genetics influence our natural inclinations, he argues that we should focus on habits that align with our strengths to create sustainable routines. Chapter 19. The Goldilocks Rule. How to stay motivated in life and work. Clear discusses the Goldilocks Rule, the idea that we stay most motivated when working on tasks that are just on the edge of our abilities. This chapter emphasizes setting challenges that keep us engaged without overwhelming us. Chapter 20. The downside of creating good habits. Clear explores the potential drawbacks of habits becoming too automatic, which can lead to stagnation. He encourages occasional self-reflection to ensure that we're on track and still benefiting from the habits we've formed. Conclusion. The secret to results that last. Atomic Habits is ultimately about creating a lifestyle and identity that aligns with the person we aspire to be. The book's main message is that the sum of daily choices shape who we are and where we are going, making habits the foundation of long-term success. Through the lens of Atomic Habits, Clear encourages readers to pursue continuous incremental improvement and trust in the compounding power of small changes to yield transformative results. Major takeaways. Clear's approach is grounded in behavioral psychology, neuroscience, and personal anecdotes, providing practical advice that appeals to both science and common sense. Instead of grand, sweeping changes, Atomic Habits teaches that small, regular improvements, such as a 1% daily improvement, can lead to massive success over time. Clear provides actionable steps, strategies, and exercises for applying these principles, making it a hands-on guide to transforming daily routines and behaviors. This is BigDaddyBigz. I hope you have enjoyed this review and summary of the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. The book is available on Amazon and other book outlets, online and at your local bookstore. I will leave links in the blog itself and on the video to Amazon where you can purchase the book. Anyway, thank you for listening. Hope to see you next time. Bye.